Your back hurts. It has hurt for weeks. Maybe months. You have tried everything, the pills, the stretches, the heating pad, the appointments, and nothing has fixed it. You are not alone. And you are not weak. You are, in fact, doing exactly what your ancestors did for 300,000 years. Except they did not have the pills. Pain is ancient. It is older than your species. It is older than fire. And for most of human history, chronic pain, the kind that does not go away, the kind that follows you into sleep and waits for you when you wake up, was simply part of being alive. Not a malfunction. Not a diagnosis. Just life. So how did they handle it? How did your ancestors survive injuries, joint disease, infection, and the grinding wear of a body used hard every single day without a single pharmacy, without a surgeon, without even a written record of what was wrong? The answer is stranger, and more hopeful, than you might expect. Let's start with what the bones tell us. Because bones remember. Paleopathology, the study of ancient disease and injury in skeletal remains, has revealed that chronic pain was everywhere in the prehistoric world. Researchers examining skeletal collections from across Europe, Africa, and the Americas have found evidence of healed fractures, severe osteoarthritis, spinal degeneration, and dental abscesses in remains dating back hundreds of thousands of years. The Shanidar cave site in Iraqi Kurdistan, excavated by Ralph Selecki in the 1950s and 60s, produced the remains of a Neanderthal individual, Shanidar I, who had survived a crushing blow to the left side of his skull, a withered right arm, a fused left knee, and severe arthritis throughout his body. He was, by skeletal evidence, partially blind, partially deaf, and walking with a limp. And yet he lived to an age estimated between 35 and 45, elderly by Paleolithic standards. He did not survive alone. That is the first answer to your question. The first tool your ancestors had against chronic pain was not a plant, not a ritual, not a technique. It was each other. Anthropologist Leslie Luttrell and other researchers studying care behavior in prehistoric populations have documented what is sometimes called the grandmother effect, the way older, injured, or chronically ill individuals were sustained by the group around them. Hunter-gatherer societies could not afford to abandon their injured. Every body represented knowledge: how to read the land, how to track prey, how to find water in a dry season. An elder with bad knees still knew where the river turned. A man with a shattered arm still knew which berries to avoid. So the group kept them, fed them, helped carry them when the band moved. This was not charity. This was pragmatic survival logic built into the social architecture of every human group that lasted. But care alone does not kill pain. So what did they use? Plants. Specifically a pharmacopoeia of plant-based analgesics, anti-inflammatories, and sedatives that your ancestors discovered, tested, remembered, and passed down across generations. Willow bark. This is probably the most famous example, and it is genuinely old. Archaeological evidence and ethnobotanical records from dozens of cultures from ancient Egypt to pre-contact North America to medieval Europe document the use of willow bark to reduce fever and dull pain. The active compound is salicin, which your body converts into salicylic acid, the chemical ancestor of aspirin. Your ancestors were chewing proto-aspirin long before anyone knew what a molecule was. But willow bark was not the only tool. Research by ethnobotanist Mo Erman Daniel, who compiled the Native American Ethnobotany Database, documents over 2,800 plant species used medicinally by indigenous North American peoples alone, including dozens specifically used for pain: yarrow for wounds, black cohosh for joint pain, valerian root as a sedative, wild lettuce as a mild analgesic. Many of these traditions stretch back thousands of years, and many of the active compounds have since been confirmed in clinical studies to have genuine pharmacological effect. So your ancestors were not guessing. They were doing what every generation before them had done: observing, testing, refining. The person in your tribe with the best plant knowledge was not a mystic. They were the closest thing to a doctor your world had. Now let's reconstruct a day. Not a hypothetical. A real one. Picture yourself in a band of roughly 25 to 30 people, moving across the savanna of East Africa roughly 70,000 years ago. You are carrying something: a hide pack, a child, a bundle of digging tools. Your lower back has been aching for 3 seasons. The ache started when you fell crossing a river. It never fully healed. Every morning it stiffens, and every morning you move anyway, because there is no other option. Before you set out, an older woman, someone's grandmother hands you a piece of bark she stripped last night. You chew it as you walk. The edge comes off the pain within the hour. Not gone. Dulled. Manageable. By midday, you stop to rest. The group rests together. You are not made to walk ahead when you are slow, because the group does not leave its members behind, not during a day's travel, not during a hard season, not when your knees finally go. Researcher James Woodburn, studying the Hadza people of Tanzania in the 20th century, documented how even contemporary hunter-gatherer bands maintained strong social norms around caring for injured and elderly members, sharing food with those who could not hunt, adjusting camp locations to accommodate those who could not travel far. This was not an anomaly. This was baseline human social behavior. At night, around the fire, there is something else. Something that modern medicine is only beginning to take seriously: ritual, rhythm, and community. Polly Wiesner, an anthropologist at the University of Utah, published research in 2014 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences documenting the difference between daytime and nighttime conversation in Kalahari Bushman communities. During the day, talk was practical: food, tools, conflict. At night, around fire, stories dominated. 91% of nighttime talk was narrative, myth, memory, identity, shared meaning. And researchers studying the neuroscience of pain now know that meaning matters. That context shapes the perception of pain in measurable, biological ways. That isolation amplifies pain. That belonging reduces it. Your ancestors were not using narrative and ritual as a distraction. They were using it as a genuine analgesic. Here is the counterintuitive twist. When agriculture arrived roughly 12,000 years ago, the average human body got worse, not better. Skeletal evidence from populations transitioning from foraging to farming shows a consistent pattern: increased rates of nutritional deficiency, smaller average body size, more tooth decay, more repetitive stress injuries, and more evidence of chronic musculoskeletal disorders. Farming was harder on the body than hunting. It was more repetitive, more confined, more postural. The same joints, bent the same way, for the same task, every single day. Clark Spencer Larson, a bioarchaeologist at Ohio State University, has spent decades analyzing skeletal collections from agricultural and pre-agricultural populations across North America and the Mediterranean. His findings are unambiguous: the transition to agriculture was associated with a measurable decline in physical health. Your farming ancestors hurt more than your foraging ancestors. They just had grain. What this means is that the chronic pain epidemic you are living in right now is not a modern invention. It is a very old story. One that began before language, before cities, before every system you have built to try to fix it. And it has always been managed the same way: imperfectly, collectively, with whatever the land provided, and with the presence of other people who knew what it meant to hurt. The pills are newer. The problem is ancient. Your back hurts. It has hurt for weeks. And somewhere in the deep logic of your nervous system, in the way the pain dulls when you are with people you trust, in the way it sharpens when you are alone, your body still knows exactly what your ancestors knew. Pain is a signal. Community is part of the answer. It always was.